is about 9:30, and I'm just kind of closing out my day. The kids are all playing a game with their dad before bedtime, and the littles are in bed, and I'm just enjoying the quiet and the peace. And I have like fireplace sounds in the background. So if you hear the crackling and popping, it's not a real fire. It's just ambiance, basically. So I was just reflecting on everything and how the new year's going so far, and it's just been kind of, I don't know, it's definitely been a quieter, calmer, slower start to the year than the last 3-4 years has been. And we've had a lot of time for reading. I did a reading and tea time with the kids this afternoon. I'm getting back into my board meetings and stuff for the year because I'm participating in the county board as a supervisor, and so enjoying my outlet as a stateswoman, I guess, for lack of a better term, and exercising my leadership skills. So that's kind of fun. My representative skills, I should say that instead. But yeah, so just I'm getting some reading in. I've had already one book that is definitely a 1-star, and it was absolutely horribly disturbing. And so I'm not even going to review it because it's kind of, I feel like it's not even worth giving it 15 minutes of fame. So, but yeah, I'm going through other books that are historical in nature. I'm doing some fiction. I'm doing a bunch of different options and kind of picking and choosing. I've felt a little scattered this week. It's weird. I'm not sure why. Actually, I am sure why. I have not been sleeping very well because we still have our 15, well, actually he's 16 months old now. And he's, I don't know, going through some teething and transitioning, and he's such a high energy baby, and so trying to get enough food in him during the day is a challenge at times, but he's really trying new things. So he was a preemie, so a lot of his systems are still slightly immature, even at 15 months. It usually takes about 2 months for these kiddos to catch up. So in some areas, he's really like way ahead of the curve. And in other areas, he's still playing a little bit of catch up. And it's amazing to see him adapt and just figure things out with the limitations that he's got. But he's a healthy, happy little guy. But yeah, just going through those phases again of teething and adjusting as he's growing. And so his appetite's changing. And so, yeah, all of that just feels like I'm slightly scattered again. It's so weird how every kid is like that for me. I feel like I'm starting all over again with each of them, but it's a good experience anyway. So yeah, just my updates. I'm going to be teaching civics this year and poetry, so I'm pretty excited with our homeschool co-ops. So I'm pretty excited about that. I am kind of developing curriculum and trying to figure out how best to utilize the time and the resources. And it's so crazy because one of the co-ops I'm part of is a Charlotte Mason style, and I love a lot of her. What's the word? Her ideology. I love a lot of her ways that she looks at education. I love, that she's really big into living books and beautiful things and art and poetry and Shakespeare and all of the kind of classical style of learning. And at the same time, sometimes I feel like she was definitely a product of her time, where she put a lot of the burden of education and raising of children on the mom. And while that's understandable, because she was right during that industrial boom, and kind of, I think at the end of it when she built her educational ideology. And so men were no longer in the home anymore. They were out in the factories and working and everything. And so she built her education around that the mom was in the home way more than the men. And so the mothers had the burden of education. And that's, it's not a bad thing, obviously, because it was in that day and age that was the way they had to do things. And I think it's also frustrating because the Western culture has made mothers very isolated, especially in homeschooling and being stay-at-home moms. I do part-time work outside the home, but I'm mostly at home. And building a large family in the way that I've always dreamed of it and everything, I'm taking, I hate to use the term, I'm taking more of an egalitarian style approach to how we raise our children. Like, we're equal partners in this parenting thing. And yes, Jake is working outside the home right now. We are praying and hoping and dreaming and building to get him home someday. And right now that's just not how it works. So I do take on the majority of the teaching and training. And I don't know if that's necessarily the ideal. And I'm not saying that people can't do it different ways or that it's, it's wrong to do it this way, to have one parent in the home and one parent working. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with both parents working and finding different educational opportunities for their kids and stuff. And I think there is at least in the mainstream homeschooling movement, there has always been this emphasis on moms being the main educators of their children. And I think that does dads a huge disservice, because it takes them out of the equation and kind of puts them in as when mom's not available, dad's the babysitter for a time. Instead of saying we are equal partners in this education thing, we're both raising our children. We're both walking with them and getting and sitting with them as they sit at breakfast, and walking with them in the way, and teaching and training, as the Proverbs talk about. The emphasis is on both parents to do that. And so my mindset has always been that it's not just me teaching my children, and I have a passion for it, and so that helps. And my mindset has been that Jake is just as much of a proponent as he's essential to the success of our home in always, not just in our marriage, but in our raising of our children. He's not an accessory. He's not the CEO who kind of delegates all the responsibilities. He and I are co-partners in this and co-heirs in this journey together. And we're raising our family in such a way that both of us have a fully formed, 100% all-in, pot committed part to play in the education and training and raising of our children. So in some ways, I feel like while Charlotte Mason gives a nod to dual parenting, she does emphasize more so the importance of mothers. And in some ways, I feel that does a huge disservice to the structure of the family. So it's an interesting thing. We're part of this homeschool co-op, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Our kids are engaging with their community. They're engaging with other students and families who have a different educational ideology or a different structure to their days and stuff. And we crash the day, because it's 2 Fridays a month, and we crash when we get home. It goes from 8:30 to 2. And our family is not set up in such a way that we structure it. So it's where you're going from class to class to class, and there's, a break for snack, and then we have a lunch break, and then we do nature studies. And it's just exhausting. And so if we had to do that every single day, our family would be burnt out within less than a week, I'm pretty sure. We have such a calmer, quieter, more restful. I feel, and this is just my opinion, more restful rhythm to our days. And like today, I had a board meeting to get to, and then I had to bring Bella into school. And so we took our time this morning. The boys did some math and helped with the littles so that I could get my meeting and the kid and Bella to work and everything. And then the day before that, we did a very more structured day where we had our Bible and history and grammar and science in the morning. And then we had our read aloud in the afternoon. And so it flowed a lot more in a little bit more formal of an educational day. And then we had, like I said today, where it just didn't work out that way. And so there was less of the sit down and do our studies. It was more of a, let's see what we can get as we have moments and pockets of time to just sit and discuss things. And so so we had that's usually the way our days go. And so it's a rewarding and good experience to be involved in the homeschool co-op. And I love, teaching the different things. Last term I did literature, and this term I'm doing poetry specifically. And the kids get involved in plays and all sorts of fun things. And so it is a rewarding experience. And it is not something that I would do every day. I like to tell people we're very much of an eclectic homeschool family. We go with the flow, and we kind of take life as it comes, and we adjust accordingly. And my kids are absolutely brilliant, and they're learning and engaging in their learning experience. And I think it works for us. And that's how we've always looked at our marriage and our parenting, was that we're going to do marriage and parenting the way Jake and Sarah Peliquin and company and the Pello kids do marriage and family and parenting and all of that. And so it's definitely given us more time for retrospection and enjoyment of our family, just being together, the beingness of each other. And it's also given us the opportunity to adjust when life kind of throws all those curveballs, because I can guarantee you we've had a ton of curveballs. And I feel like we almost have an emergency fund of time that our family is able to draw on during those curveball moments, when we just have to sit back and take a deep breath and go, okay, we're going to just breathe. And we're going to worship God in the moment, and we're going to do what we can with what we have and with the resources we've been given. And it works. It really works. So it's an interesting experience. But that's a little glimpse into our homeschool journey. And, whenever I talk to other parents, especially new time homeschool parents, they're always going on about what curriculum is best, what should I be focusing on, and what is going to get me from point A to point B? How are my kids going to graduate? How are they going to socialize? I usually say, especially if they're coming out of the public school, but even if not, if you're in that mindset that you have to fill a standard, that you have to meet an expectation that is outside of your home and family, the best thing that you can do is take a deep breath and take a month to 6 months of basically a hiatus, if for lack of a better term, a hiatus from standards and expectations from external sources. You sit with your family. You go on adventures that are spontaneous and fun and enjoyable. You sit down and you read books in the morning, in the afternoon. You explore and do nature walks, and you find museums, and you take your kids out for a rare moment at a sit-down restaurant to enjoy the finer things of life and all of that. And obviously you work within the resources that you have, but there is no standard that we have to meet outside of what God's will and purpose and mission is for our family. And so that's the focus. And that has saved my family a lot of stress and heartache, and given us going forward, this is how we can respond when life throws those curveballs. We can sit back, we can take a little break, and we don't have to worry that we're missing the boat or that our percentage rates of our textbooks and all of those things are we're dropping the ball or whatever the case may be. We school year round. And that means that there are some days or some weeks or even some months when health issues or pregnancies or whatever the case may be, whatever stress or job losses, that we have that bank of time that we can draw on to say, this is going to be just family time. This is going to be, we're going to still be learning. We're still doing life. And it's just going to look a little bit different in this rhythm, in this phase. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit rambling, but I was reflecting on that today and just wanted to see if I could give an encouragement to families who are either searching for other educational outlets or just needed to be told that it's okay. You don't have to meet a standard. You don't have to follow the expectations of others. And you can still enjoy and still find rewards in things that may not be something that you would do on a regular basis, but you can still get the rewards and the joy out of it for other purposes and other means. And so just wanted to give that encouragement out there and sign off for tonight. So I will see you all later.